Two more games for the Detroit Pistons before they hit the All-Star break, and both of those are back-to-back against the Chicago Bulls, longtime Piston rival. They'll be on February 11th and 12th, both starting at 8 p.m. I'm excited to break those games down as they happen, but right now we're going to preview Chicago Bulls Pistons, and we're going to look at the Chicago Bulls versus the Warriors from yesterday night and their collapse, and how that kind of mirrors what happened with Detroit Charlotte, but Detroit was able to fend off the Hornets. We're going to be also talking about games across the league and how that's affecting Detroit's standings right now. And then we're going to talk about the Chauncey Billups retirement, which happened 9 years ago today. But first, thank you for joining me on the Legend Sports YouTube channel. All the support has been awesome. Love you guys. So getting right into the games, I'm just going to make sure that this is all in order. So the Hawks Magic is the first game that has a lot of implications for Detroit. So it's 106-104. Heat's, we don't really need to talk about the Heat because they're down big. And then Milwaukee was the other one I wanted to find. That's close at the half. But if we look at the standings, so let me share this tab. Let me make sure that moved over there. Detroit's in 6th. Miami is in 7th. Orlando and the Hawks are in 8 and 9. So we really need to make sure we keep our distance from those teams because they're all very tough teams. So for Magic Hawks, it's kind of choose your flavor on who you want to win there. I mean, it's a close 2-point game right now. Miami's down big, so we don't have to worry about that. And then Milwaukee's one of those. We're only 2 games behind. So a loss from Milwaukee, a win from Detroit gets us even closer to that 5th seed. And then now I want to move on to the Chauncey Billups retirement that happened 9 years ago. I mean, finals MVP Billups was one of the best players I've ever witnessed as a Piston. Sadly, I was too young to really recognize that 04 championship. A lot of the recognition for me came from his later seasons in Detroit and then the historic Allen Iverson trade. So most of my Chauncey Billups lore and knowledge and growing up with it came from a horrible trade. I'm not going to compare it at all to the Luka AD trade, but there's it's there for sure. I'm just going to say that. Over his 8-year career with the Pistons, I mean, 16.5 points, 6.2 assists in 482 games. One of the best Pistons all time. I believe there was only 11 jersey retirements, so being one of them means a lot. Lots of love to Chauncey there, and especially what he's doing in Portland right now. They're on a hot streak, and I mean, looking at the standings again, I want to go back to that. So looking at these in the Western Conference, where do I go? Conference, and then go down to the Western. I mean, they're 23 and 30. That's not great when you're looking at the standings, but 23 and 30 would be the 10 seed right now in the East. And they're competing with teams like San Antonio. They're right behind the Warriors, Suns, Kings, Mavericks, Clippers. I mean, a few things go their way and they're in the play-in and kind of ahead of schedule. So that's really nice to see for them. So much love to Chauncey. Now getting right into the Bulls Warriors. Kobe White was electric that game to start. I mean, the Bulls led 83-59 midway through the first. I'm sure a lot of people saw the memes that were going around of the turnaround and the extent of what happened in that Bulls-Warriors game. Kobe White had 19 points in a stretch from the second to early third. Bulls shot 17-39 from 3. They looked totally in control. But then there was the 24-point lead that was gone within 8 minutes. The Warriors had a 38-10 run to end the third. And so the Bulls gave up scores on 12 straight possessions, and Curry had a 24-point quarter, 5 of 8 from 3. I mean, if we're trying to think of what the Pistons need to look at to see that, is that maybe the Bulls mentality isn't strong enough to hold up those big leads. And we saw Detroit kind of have a similar instance there. So I'd be curious to see if both of these teams went at it, if one had a lead, how they would react and how they would adjust to make sure they don't lose those big leads like they did in their previous games. The Bulls were out rebounded 13-3 in the third quarter. The Warriors just kept pushing. 67-18 run at one point. Yeah, 67-18 run. That is absolutely insane. I can't even believe that's real. But the Bulls offense absolutely disappeared. A lot of that comes from kind of the physicality of the Warriors, adding in Jimmy Butler. I know the Warriors across the board don't have too many elite defenders. You have Draymond, you have some guys there that can, but I think just bringing Jimmy in brings a new level of electricity for that Warriors team. But also you add in the firepower of Curry with that, and you're not going to have a chance. And so a lot of this might be just sound like I'm ragging on the Bulls, but I think any team in that situation would have had a tough time kind of limiting the Warriors there. And for Detroit, a key thing across this entire season has been attacking the boards. And with Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris out there, you have to make sure you're snagging those boards. And Jalen Duren, maybe not known for his defense, but rebounding. That's one thing he's known as. That's his kind of shades of Andre Drummond there. And the Bulls did collapse on the glass versus Golden State. And Golden State's a significantly shorter team than the Detroit Pistons. So I'm expecting Jalen Duren to have a big game, kind of outbody Nikola Vucevic. And it's easy to see when watching a lot of the Bulls games, there's a lot of weak transitions. There's a lot of weak defensive transitions. So when you have Cade Cunningham, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway able to dish the ball and find a better shot for each other, that's going to go a long way if you're the Pistons. That's going to get you a lot of easy points, especially for a lot of these younger guys on the Chicago team that still need to kind of learn the ropes. And that's weird to say from a Detroit team that for the past 4 years has been learning the ropes, but they're starting to put it together. You add some veterans in there. It's starting to make sense for this Detroit team. And the Detroit bench absolutely needs to capitalize. Malik Beasley, Dennis Schroeder, you need to go out there and search for blood in that water because, I mean, the defense is one thing for the Bulls, but their offensive production from their new weapons, Herder was 1 for 7, and Trey Jones didn't make a basket. So you have to outscore them and then also use that speed, quickness, toughness to help on defense. And you're going to make sure that those bench units outscore by tenfold. And I think the biggest thing is I wish I led with this off the rip, but the Pistons have the size here. I know I already talked about it a little bit, but the Bulls are starting 4-point guards, or I guess 3-point guards now because they've added Buzelis to the starting unit. But you have Giddey, Kobe White, Dosunmu, Buzelis, and Vucevic. You have a couple 6'5" guys in there. You have Josh Giddey at 6'8", but not known for crazy defense, especially against some bigger NBA wings and NBA bodies. But you look at the Pistons, their shortest guy's 5'7", then they have 6'7", 6'7", 6'8", 6'10". That's a lot of size there for Detroit. I do think this is a lineup where Cade Cunningham is going to get a favorable matchup no matter who you have on him. And even if you do have, let's say, a Dosunmu on you, then you have a Sar Thompson or Tim Hardaway Jr. with a weaker defender because Buzelis is probably going to match up against Tobias Harris either way. If Cade Cunningham can get Tim Hardaway Jr. or Sar some easier looks on some weaker defenders, you got yourself an easy route to a victory here just by talking about size. Some final keys I want to talk about, and we've already talked about attacking the boards, but the Bulls absolutely crapped the bed when it come to attacking the glass. And the Bulls folded when the game got tough. I mean, we need to bring the energy, get downhill, attack mismatches, and just let your players be themselves. And then you're going to have an easy route to a victory. And I know this wasn't super in-depth and there wasn't a lot of intense details and a lot of footage is something I want to include later on, but we're learning here at this channel. This is the first game review we've done. I really appreciate all the support. Like I said, go Pistons, get some easy wins.